RJ,
Yeah, you have to.
how old's your son?
He actually just turned 13 on Friday.
Nice.
Okay. I need to know, from a father's perspective, how did your son enjoy WrestleMania?
That's a good question.
He actually, there's very few pay-per-views that I will allow him to stay up. And by I allow him, I mean my wife.
Fair.
Because he has school next day. You know,
Right,
he's this seventh grader in middle school. And let me put it this way. He's a big Cody fan. Just like every other, 13, 12-year-old boy that is. But he didn't understand it. You know, he didn't understand, okay, why is Travis Scott coming down? Why is John Cena a bad guy? Why is this? Why? And I tell him, I said, but this is, just wait and see. It's part of the story. Oh, okay. But overall, he loved it, man. He loves Jey Uso. He is the prototypical fan of the baby faces. He won't cuss, but he'll yell at Gunther. He'll yell at all the heels.
Nice.
You suck. So he's fully engrossed in it,
awesome.
but he does understand that it is predetermined.
Right. He's enjoying it as part of the show. Like he's being part of it. I went to a show recently, and it was the first time I'd been to a show in probably like 3 or 4 years. And that was something that I noticed in the crowd is like people were having much more fun with it. They were trying to interact. Like even though like they were booing the heel when they pulled off a good move, they would applaud it. Like you could tell it was more of a, that's the good part, like where, kayfabe's dead and that sucks. It does because you can't put that genie back in the bottle. But I feel like we're evolving into a new space where people understand that. But as long as it's not like blatantly thrown in front of us, as long as the wrestlers don't act like it's predetermined and act like it's a show, we can all be part of it. You're kind of seeing it with Dom Mysterio, where he was the most booed person in the business the last 3 years, pretty much. And then he wins the IC title and people are like, yes, that's us. Cause we've all seen this kid put in the work, especially any of us who were around, not only for the ladder match, but even Rey Mysterio, like the ladder match between Rey and Eddie, that the custody of Dom match, but also is it CM Punk and Rey had that feud in 2010? Yeah. And Dom was like 13.
Something like that.
And Dom was already taller than Rey then. Yeah, so it's just cool to see him succeed. We want to see, we're happy to see him succeed, and that's what's going to make him a babyface one day. It's cool to see.
Well, it's one of those things too where he knows what I do. He knows what I do as far as the show with Brian and Jimmy, and he loves it because he's like, oh, who's your guest this week? Oh, it's this guy, that guy. He's like, oh, I don't know that guy. He's not WWE. I'm like, yeah, but he did this, and this. But he, this past summer, I actually took him to his first pay-per-view. I took him to, SummerSlam in Cleveland.
Nice.
We drove from here. It's probably about
5 hours.
No. What the heck?
You're in
Rochester. I live out Rochester.
Okay.
So it's probably about 3-4 hours, depending on how fast you go.
Okay.
It's all 90, man.
Well, see, they actually have cars now, George. It's not horse and buggy. So.
Well, I'm still trying to get that time machine from Back to the Future, so I don't have to go that. I could afford to go to New Orleans next year for WrestleMania without dropping $10,000 for freaking tickets.
It's the only way people are gonna. I feel like it won't be as bad next year because Vegas is Vegas.
No,
racing, but still, it's there. The regular Joe isn't affording to go as often as they used to anymore.
Right.
It's literally like a once in a lifetime or once in a decade experience for people that used to go more frequently.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I wanted him to, because the first pay-per-view, I'll tell you some coincidence with this. It comes full circle. Is my first WWE pay-per-view was Survivor Series 2004 in Cleveland. So I wanted to make that kind of a unique thing between him and I, where his first WWE pay-per-view was SummerSlam, but it was in Cleveland at Cleveland Brown Stadium instead of, I think it is, Quicken Loans Arena now or something. It was Gund Arena back then.
Gund Arena to me, and I've never even been there.
Well, but that's the thing. It's just like George, you can relate to this. It's, it's always going to be a Rich Stadium to me. Right. It's never going to be Highmark Stadium or, the 60 different names they're going to have for it.
Right.
But it was one of those things too that even at that time, just personal life, family stuff, really going through a lot of hard stuff at that time. My mom ended up, being diagnosed with, liver cancer soon after that SummerSlam. So it's kind of tough to go back and talk about it, but it's one of those things that I got to see the joy through my son's eyes that I had, because my parents always were there for me and, encouraged me to do a lot of things, but wrestling was never that thing that they always encouraged. My dad was never, hey, wrestling school, go ahead, do what you got to do. My mom was always there for me, through thick and thin, no matter what. And, and that was one of those things where I wanted to see, that look, smile, in his eyes, smile when he sees Cody Rhodes come out for the first time, or Roman Reigns when he came back, or whomever. I took him to, at that time, that was when they had, it wasn't WrestleCon, but they had some sort of convention, at one of the hotels there in Cleveland, and he was able to meet Kurt Angle. He was able to meet Scott Steiner. He was able to meet the Dudley Boys.
Cool.
And
that's awesome. Yeah, that's
cool.
Something
I have the pictures on my phone, and that's something that I always go back to now, throughout the week. I'll always go back, and I got pictures of that. I got pictures of the last few pictures of my mom and I, and with him and my grandfather. I always go back, and my grandmother, and I always go back and remember it, because, all three of them are now gone. So it's like, that's all I have left. It's one of those things that wrestling's always been, that outlet. I can't speak for you guys. I can't speak for people that are listening now or listening afterwards, but,
it's cool that you shared that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's that hour and a half, or sometimes 4 hours, depending on what you're watching.
Depending on, yeah.
If it's AEW, it's like 7 hours, but, you forget about your everyday BS. You forgetting about your 9-to-5 job that you got to get up at, 3:30 in the morning for, or whatever. You forget about that.
Yeah, no, and that's why we try to enjoy it. That's one of the whole reasons we started this channel, was that I was, most of the times that people do talk about it or review it, like, I feel like because of the, McMahon years where it was so bad that people just got indoctrinated to just always go negative. And if something sucks, it sucks, and we'll talk about it, we'll make fun of it. But even that, I try to take it from a perspective of more of a fun approach, because I feel like when I would try to, most of the channels or most things that you try to watch, people are always so negative, which is one of the reasons why I kind of gravitate to the shows that have more of the people like, Jimmy and Brian and people from my youth, because at least they're going to tell me stories of things I remember or cool parts of it. And because they're remembering nostalgia, it always comes back from a positive angle. So that's one of the things we try to do, is bring that positivity back into it, because it's more fun that way. Like it's easier to, there's enough negative stuff in the world. If your job sucks, or your home life sucks, or a family member is, sick or whatever, wrestling's supposed to make you happy and enjoy the time of it, and not just go, oh, well, this wasn't that. I didn't think it was going to be this. And then immediately start complaining. That's, try to have more fun with it all.
Well, and I think especially my mom, God rest her soul, that, she always encouraged that, whether you do what you got to do.
Yeah, might not have been for her, but it's cool. Yeah, it's for you. So
right. She didn't get the show that I did with Brian and Jimmy, but she told everybody about it. She was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something she just passed this past September. And, that's something that she always instilled in me, that, make sure that, you do what you love, man, and, that's what she was told by her father, my grandfather. She instilled it in me, and I'm trying to instill it in my son Gavin, that, life's too short. Tomorrow's not you're not granted tomorrow. And
Polish heritage.
Well, yeah, but the problem is there, George, you got to eat all that great Polish delicacies from Cheektowaga over there. Those Polish delis over there with the kielbasas and the sauerkraut and the sauerkraut and all that jazz. Yeah. Dude, man.
Keep in mind, my last name is Captor, and it's shortened from Captorowski.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So. Well, happy belated Dingus Day then.
Yeah.
And only people, I told that to somebody the other day.
Nobody knows what it is.
Nope.
And nobody knows what the hell it is. Google it, guys. Just Google it. that was something that, that was something we went down to downtown Buffalo and there was a Dingus Day parade downtown Buffalo. I don't know if they still do it.
Yes, they do.
And my grandmother, I part Polish, part, German. And we'd always go, we'd do that in, the spring. And then over the summer, we'd do, a German Fest or Walt Fest. Basically what Walt Fest is for the German heritage, you'd basically go out. It was like giving back to nature. You'd go out in the middle of freaking nowhere and party. So you can only imagine that you get these crazy German folk out there dancing and drinking and eating and oy vey. That was it was definitely something something to be seen.
So one thing I put in the little description that I wanted to touch upon was
sure.
The Rock's lovely PR week that he had.
You mean the lack thereof?
Yeah. Yes. I'm not a huge Dave LaGreca fan. However, I will support his theory of, please don't tell me it's all at work. I already know it. I don't need to hear it.
Here's the thing with LaGreca. His response to The Rock's response to his rant was good. The initial rant was a bit much from Dave. Like, that's where Dave sometimes is a bit much. But his response back was much more collected. I fully agree with you, George. And I don't really agree with LaGreca on a lot of things, but absolutely was right on that. Oh shit, there's Xbox. I'm watching the TNA game for you. The Xbox just came out.
Oh, there you go. You're better. Oh, he's from out west.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But and I absolutely love Busted Open. I love what LaGreca has done over the last 15 years, 20 years, 12, however long Busted Open's been.
Forever. It's what I
Spectrum.
feel like. Yeah,
they're not on Spectrum, on Sirius XM.
They've got themselves into a position where they're just part of they're part of the furniture. They're part of the culture now.
Well, but the thing is though, Dave, and he said this on multiple occasions, I listen to the most every day of Busted Open. And, Dave's been on our show twice.
Nice.
Like I said, every single guest, or co-host, I should say, that Busted Open has been on our show from, like I said, Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, Mark Henry. So the respect is mutual.
That's awesome.
From everybody on our side to their side.
Absolutely.
But you don't have to, like how Dave said it. And like I said, everybody is entitled to their opinions, but, it shows his passion for this business. He basically started that show from nothing and getting it to where it is now, where they're,
I feel like, right? Like
pretty much. It was him and Doug Morton that started the job, started it.
And it was like they were doing
it was like one day a week for like 3 hours.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was like once a week for like maybe an hour or two. I know it was for like the bare
minimum. And then it went to 3 hours, then it went to every day. Now they're plugging the 24/7 and bringing in Natty and Baron Corbin and Nick Nemes on it, but
they're a whole giant behemoth now, which is awesome to see. That's and they're doing WrestleMania shows every year. They're doing shows at these major pay-per-views. They're doing so much to give back to professional wrestling. And Dave, and he's admitted, he's a fan, just like I am. I'm roughing it up for Brian, for Jimmy, for Daniel to get their stories out there because I believe they've earned it for their stories to be heard to the masses, whether it's, 5,000, 10,000, 1,000, 100, whatever, whoever listens, we're grateful for it. But I felt that same way that Dave, LaGreca did. I don't have the platform that he does that it gained that much traction so quickly. If you go back and look at that video, and I implore everybody to do that at Busted Open Radio online, that has 1 million views.
Right.
Alone. And when you have The Rock calling you out by name, you're over, kid.
Yeah.
And I just think, to piggyback off what you guys said with how he said it on the Pat McAfee show, my thing is, regardless, whether you were backstage or not, at WrestleMania. You can't be seen at WrestleMania, but you can go on Pat McAfee on Monday and talk about it.
It was Tuesday.
Remotely. Or Tuesday. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
But, and,
or was he at
you
that
know,
date
saying,
that Hogan is? So maybe it was Monday for him, but it was Tuesday there because he was on the Hogan flight plan.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, you go, oh, everything's fake, brother. Oh, yeah. Come on. We know it's not real. It's predetermined, but, you know, you're just pulling it, you know, you're just killing everything. Your believability.
He like, even into like when he does the press conferences afterwards, like every single answer is like, well, you know, I grew up in this business. I love this business. And he goes into some BS answer, like,
and he goes and kills it.
Yeah. He's just gone. He's just a weirdo now. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess he's gone Hollywood fully or something, but you know,
he's part of the board. He's part of the board now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was a huge Rock fan growing up. As all of us were during the Attitude Era. And it's gotten to the point where I think sooner or later, if something isn't corrected, I think at one point, and you can clip this and play it later if you want. Sooner or later, I believe The Rock will get go away heat, where people will see him on the TV, they'll see him in the movie theaters, and they'll go the other way because they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
it might be sooner depending on how people react like the next time he comes out because of what happened this past Mania. People are pissed.
Well, and rightfully so. Right. And I just think you got rumor and innuendo out there saying that, you know, you have The Rock and Triple H at it, you know, coming to blows or so to speak, I guess. And about creative. Oh, I wish I would have done it this way. You noticed how in that little blurb that, you know, Rock was on McAfee there is he never said we. It was all I would have done this. I would have done it differently this way. I called Cody. I called John. We never said we.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a reason why I'm here and Rock's there. That's why the reason The Rock is the most recognizable person in all of Hollywood, in all of professional wrestling. When anybody asks, oh, is that The Rock or is that Dwayne Johnson? Okay, well, who knows? Or is it the final boss? Who knows? Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things. You go back to you get the dad answer. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, no, that's how I felt about it all. Yeah, some people were mad. I'm like, They were trying to say like it ruined the whole weekend. I'm like, this didn't ruin the whole weekend. It just kind of put a really, you know, shit icing on the cake at the end of like, oh, well, I don't really like that flavor. Sorry. You know, the rest of it was good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll take the icing on the top of the cake. The cake's fine, but the icing on the top, yeah.